Welcome back to another extra special episode of Andrew Says. Brendan from Danger Cats, how are you, good sir?
I am doing lovely. You were the first interviewer to ever refer to me as Brendan.
Well, you see, it's when we put a graphic out, we could put, Uncle Hack from Danger Cats, but maybe some of the boomers would be like, who is this young man? I would demand to know his first name so I can look him up in the phone book in the yellow pages, which
Yeah,
we
they
all
don't
need.
deserve my first name.
Okay, we'll scratch it from the record. We'll go with uh, beta reticuli, some sort of planet or something. How are you doing? You're out there in whereabouts in Alberta are you?
Edmonton, Alberta.
Oh, I call that the Oshawa of Alberta. It's a place where I grew up in Ontario. I think we got hooked up from our good friend Key and Simone. Did you guys do a show together, or how did you guys get to find each other?
He came on our live stream, him and
Okay.
Sheila, actually. That would have been right after all the Coots breakup. And once he released, or he was in the midst of releasing some of his footage, we had him on our live stream that we were doing.
I heard that was wild. I haven't seen it, but I hear Sheila was shocked and appalled. Not actually, but I hear you guys really gave it to her.
Hey, we got to keep everybody on their toes, you know? Nobody gets a free ride.
That's fair. We'll have to put up a clip of that. So I wanted to talk to you also about one of the things I talked to Keen about before he linked me up with you was about some of your shows being canceled. I was writing up and interviewing a guy named David Lucas, a friend of mine, a comedian from Texas, about
Very familiar with them.
yes, we were talking about the Dave Chappelle cancellation, and then Danny Mullen's been canceled. He recently told me he had a show canceled, and then also bringing it back to Canada, Ben Bankus in Toronto was canceled. So, did you face similar stuff where they said your material was too racy, or did they give you an exact reason? Want to give us the whole story there?
Yeah, so we were promoting a roast battle here, and there's a clip that I use that's a pretty, I don't know, I guess depends on who watches it. They could perceive it as being very heinous, um, but that's the nature of the game. And yeah, then I released it online to promote the next roast battle. And yeah, the TikTok mob got a hold of it, and it was deemed racist, I guess. And then we're attempting to cancel shows.
So, did they reach out to you directly and say this joke is what caused us to not want to host you guys anymore?
The venues itself,
Yeah.
no, they not to me directly. Well, there was kind of a middleman between the operation who kind of, if I'm being honest, was a bit of a coward about the whole scenario, and then they went and released a statement on their Instagram and Facebook, basically claiming that I'm a racist and they don't support this type of comedy, and I will be canceling the shows.
Yeah, something I'm seeing a lot of is the indirect, way of going about this. I know for my pal Ben Bankus, they just emailed him the night before, having known about him for weeks, and they sort of leave it to the last minute and they say, "Oh, we'll have no problem booking you somewhere else." Like, well, that's not your job, but also it's kind of like a slap in the face to wait to the last second. So, how many shows have you done up until this point with this sort of material? I know it's a roast battle and it's probably different every time, but was it only because you put something out online that people started to, on TikTok that people started to complain about it?
Yes. It was, people that come to the shows, they know what we do and what we're about. We don't pull no punches, regardless of like who you are. Everything's on the table, especially in roast battles. You see
Mhm.
the watered down versions on networks, and to us, that isn't roast battles. So we, since I've like connected with like Brett Forte and Sam Walker, we have then took it upon ourselves to like go the extra step with roast battles, and some comedians are terrified of it and some aren't, and those that aren't are welcome to, test their skills on our stages. But yeah, I would say it. Oh shit! Speak of the devil, it is actually Sam Walker. My bad. Um, yeah, that particular roast joke then grabbed the attention of some people, and they took it upon themselves to try and call venues that they
Oh my
weren't even
god.
going to attend anyways. It's not even in their area. From what I seen online of what people were posting and how many times they were calling and harassing venues to try and get them to submit in canceling shows. So unfortunately, 2 out of the 3 shows that we had booked at that time then pulled out of you know of us going down there and performing. So it is what it is.
It's wild that people will do that. And the Canadian mainstream comedy scene, as little as it is of a TV scene, we'll call it, that they had that Amazon Prime Canada show that was seemed like it was very PC with Tom Green and all these other guys. There isn't much of that going on, I feel like. So for comedy venues in Canada to be now saying to people, we're not going to host this stuff because some people find it offensive, I think it's a huge detriment to something that already needs, new life breathed into it. There was obviously closures for almost 2 years. Justin Trudeau's talking about closing stuff again. We'll get to that in a bit, I feel like. But there's so much desire for people to go out again and to laugh again because it's all so sad. I don't think any club should be doing this sort of thing because in Canada it's very hard to get a spotlight shown on you unless you're on CBC, let's say, or unless you're on this Amazon Prime show, which has like the same 10 people everybody's been watching for 20 years anyways. Colin Mockery. Oh, he's never been on TV before. Let's give it to let's give it to him again. And the 600-pound lady. But I don't see how. Yeah. She's very funny. I don't
What?
see how
You
this
don't
is
like
good.
fat ladies?
Pardon me?
You don't like fat ladies?
Listen, man. I love everyone. Everybody who knows me knows I'm pro obesity. I'm pro everything.
What the hell is Rebel News turning into?
What is this place, right? Um, so I don't think it's good for anybody to be canceling shows like that. Now, I wanted to ask you, I was familiar with your channel, I think when it first started blowing up. There was the video about all the accents in Canada, which has a ton of views. Was it always a political channel, or did this start happening because of lockdowns and because of convoys? Were you always a political guy?
You know what? The political aspect of the channel always stemmed from me working in the oil patch. And and I just thought what those guys were saying in the lunchroom and just on site was funny to me. So that's the type of humor I've always been around. And it was I don't know. I just like real people that just like say it how they think it. They don't have to put all these fancy, fluffy words in front of the thoughts that they have stored in their head. And that to me is just like how I grew up. I grew up in small town Alberta. That's how we talk to one another, and that shit is funny to me, and it'll never stop being funny to me. So I just decided one day, like I was always looking for some sort of content like that on the internet, and I didn't know where to go. So I was like, fuck it, I'll create it myself. And then the political aspect is just kind of probably a little bit of upbringing, work life, and just I guess how the rural part of Canada carries itself. So it was kind of fun to just talk freely like that, and I guess in return, I then received a lot of love from dudes that wish they could say that shit. They could just go out online and be like, you're saying exactly how I would say it, but I can't because I'll lose my job, and I can't because then the income is lost. I'll lose my home, my wife and kids and all this. So it was just, I don't know, that the political aspect kind of came from that, and just trying to find the humor in it.
a lot of it seems like a lot of hockey culture injected in there. I don't think I should be afraid to say. Is that where a lot of the guys you hear from are coming from? Because hockey and the NHL, and I'm sure the juniors as we know it now, is so sensitive to any sort of controversy. I mean, we see it with Hockey Canada. I'm not fully aware of that story. I won't comment on it, the whatever is happening there. But you had the racism accusations with players recently, and I feel like hockey is really under attack lately, at least in the last couple of years, with what they're doing ever since Black Lives Matter. And they had this show on CBC where it's like dedicated to diversity. Even though they never hired any extra black guys on it. It was a very confusing time for me to watch hockey, where Ron McLean's sitting there and he's talking to me about white privilege and how he just didn't understand how much white privilege he had. It's so confusing. So are a lot of the guys who reach out to you like sort of like your regular hockey guys that you're referring to?
You know, when I was putting out like that see, I played the game differently, so it kind of, I don't know, my shit was kind of geared toward the guys that were kind of tough, like just mentally tough. Words aren't gonna hurt them. They were beating the shit out of each other anyways. So if you think that calling me a is gonna hurt my feelings, it's not. Am I not supposed to? Sorry, I'm starting to think that I'm
Somebody
on
else
my
will
own.
decide that.
Okay, my bad. But I don't know. I just like, I can't get behind the whole words. Words hurt when
Mhm.
you're already playing a tough sport. And I get it. Some people
Right.
may have had a rougher crack at it than other people. But at the end of the day, we hear all this. It's such a fucking shaky water to put your boat into to talk about it. And I'm not really afraid of it, because it doesn't matter if you're black, white, brown, whatever race, religion that you are. If you're on my team, you're on my team, so
Mhm.
I think that aspect gets missed so much, because I've played hockey with people of all ethnicities and religions, and that seems to go out the window the moment that all of us touch the ice together. And I think that, because you got all these fucking losers, reporters that never played the game, trying to comment on the game and the culture inside the dressing room, and they're trying to make big deals out of something they don't understand. It'd be like me trying to talk to you about what it's like growing up in the Bronx. It doesn't make any sense.
And
It's nerds.
there were suspensions of for people saying like swear words on the ice. I remember that from
Mm-hmm.
a couple of years ago. And yeah, I remember playing on teams when a guy didn't like, I would say probably hated, was on my team, but he's on your team, so I'm still going to defend him against another team, no matter if I liked him or not. Shout out to what was his name? I'll just say Matt. I didn't like you, but I digress. Would you call yourself a conservative being out there in Alberta, or did you used to, and things got muddied now? Do you have a label for yourself at all politically?
Danger cat.
Okay, that's fair. Because I
No,
wanted to
I.
ask how you feel about this Alberta government. How I feel like, and as you know, there's plenty of people at our company from Alberta, and they've always
Mhm.
held Alberta as this bastion of freedom. We're the Texas of Canada, and then lockdowns came, and Jason Kenney was like, "I've never heard of a vaccine passport," and then he puts one in, and then the
Yeah.
Coots thing happens and everything. So did you used to call yourself something along the lines? Do you change it all? Do you have faith in a strong conservative Albertan government?
No, I
Okay.
don't. I don't align myself with people that don't care about me. I don't champion some political party that, it seems it's rinse repeat, it's copy and paste with every single one of those suit dummies that go down to the, that are in the House of Commons, down in Parliament. It it does not matter to me. They're it's the working class versus them, and that's how I view it. And right now we're being played against one another with this idea that one of these losers is going to rise from the ashes and save us all. It's never going to fucking happen. It never has, and it never will. Real people do real shit, and those dipshits just sit around. Mr. Speaker, Canadian politics is the most fucking embarrassing
It
form of
is.
politics. Mr. Speaker, you can't even speak directly to a man. Mr. Speaker, can you tell him to answer the question? It's just cuckery in there all day long. That's all it is. It's embarrassing.
I live some of my saddest moments looking at Canadian political Twitter, whether it's Aaron O'Toole or Michelle Rempel Garner is one who really gets to me. Are you familiar with her?
A little bit.
She's the one that's too much white maleness in the Conservative Party. And then recently she said how people only want to talk to her about sexism and racism, even though that's the thing she always mentions. But now it's too much to actually ask her about her. Why don't people ask me about the economy and stuff? Because this is what you complained about for 3 years. I'm sorry. No, but I know exactly what you mean. Pardon?
It's because you're a woman.
And then when Aaron O'Toole's talking about biphobia, this is the stuff I can't get behind. It's like some aspects of Canadian politics are so cringy, and on top of that, overall boring. But I completely get what you're saying. They don't show up for the House of Commons most of the time. That's the problem. Like they have actual jobs and an office they're supposed to go to, and they pretty much never go, unless it's to get a YouTube clip. That's my problem with a lot of them these days. Is you can tell that they're there to get that CPAC YouTube clip, probably cut by producer Efron back here. The Pierre's big on that one.
They're fucking influencers now.
If
you watch what they're doing, they're 100% influencers. They go into this with like the mindset of like a 22-year-old in LA that thinks that they're going to get brand deals. Everything is the exact same. It's hilarious. It's so funny to sit and watch it to me personally anyways. Like,
you can see when they go there and the seats are actually full. That they're there for a reason, to cut a clip, to cut a quick promo. Have you ever done any like field reporting from like protests or anything? I would love to see you do that.
A little bit. We went down to Coots. Brett and Sam did their own video, and then I had to go clean up because those guys went down to do stand up and they weren't allowed. So thankfully, the kind fellows down there had a flatbed truck there, so I got the job done instead of those two idiots.
We need to get you as a special field reporter from some violent protest from Antifa or something. I'd love to see your conversations with those. I strongly encourage that. Do you think restrictions are coming back? What's your whole prediction on this?
Personally, they're really setting it up for it. So would I be surprised? No. But is there like a little bit of hope that the general public will see through all this horse shit and see it for what it is finally? I would hope. I'm tired of this chain just being loosened just a little bit. So like it's like watching a dog have a steak just out of paw reach, And it's like, oh, it's almost there. We almost have it all. And then it's like, oh, we're going to reel you back in because your guys are getting a little crazy out there.
You're starting to sound like SCTV sketches or something. Olivia, do we have that Trudeau clip from earlier? This is what I came prepared with, my one note. Trudeau basically threatening restrictions again. Let's play this.
And everyone should get out and get vaccinated. If we are able to hit that 80, 85, 90% of Canadians up to date in their vaccinations, we'll have a much better winter with much less need for the kinds of restrictions and rules that were so problematic for everyone over the past years. But every step of the way, government's responsibility is to keep people safe, to prevent our healthcare systems from getting overwhelmed. And that's where individuals choosing to make sure they're up to date in their vaccinations with these new vaccines is going to help us all.
Of course, it's up to date. It's never going to be enough. Of course, the systems were never overwhelmed. But he doesn't he talk like it's not up to him and it's completely, well, if you guys don't do it, I'm going to try the best I can. But, they're going to make me do it.
You know what this sounds like? It sounds like politicians are a little
go outside these days, and the only way we can roam the earth is by keeping people inside their house. That's what it sounds like to me.
What's that,
Terrified.
Olivia? Him? No, it'll be fine. Okay, she thinks the audio dipped out for a second. This is showbiz, baby. The show's gotta go on.
It's Canadian show business.
Canadian show business. Now throwing to Colin Mockery for 5 minutes. We should get him on. I wish he would, but he won't. I'm sure he won't. But if we could just pull a lever. I don't know if you remember when Conan O'Brien had a Walker Texas Ranger lever back in the day. Those were the days of comedy. That's what I aspire to. Yeah, it sounds like to me that that they don't want to go and face any criticism. The thing with Chrystia Freeland recently, where I don't even know about this guy that yelled at her. Apparently he's done the same stuff to Pierre as well. But the fact that we need like some sort of national inquiry into a politician being yelled at a distance in a building, that's just the state of Canadian politics, I think. No.
Probably. Who knows? Those guys live in their own little idea that that right there should tell you the overall general feel of like where we are with these fucking maniacs running around doing whatever they want. Rules for thee, but not for me bullshit. People are sick of it, you know? It's time. That right there, that guy is one of the few that did what a lot of people wish they could, but they're terrified to do, you know?
And now he's a public enemy of the state, starring Will Smith. I've heard rumblings that there's going to be another election call. Do you think Trudeau wins again? I think he just wins again, no matter how it happens, whether it's through questionable means or like the East Coast and rural Ontario, sadly, the North votes NDP usually, whether they carry him. I just think he wins again somehow.
You think so?
I just think he never stops winning. I don't know how. Like, how did he win last time? How did he win the time before? What more can be done that hasn't already been done, which would make people change their votes from Trudeau to somebody else? That's my question.
I think like I think that's just like a little bit of a reflection on the faith in politicians now, you know? Like I can't look at any one of those dipshits that are currently leaders of every party and be like, yep, that's my guy. You know? Like I can't look other than Maxime Bernier, that when he got arrested on the side of the highway, now whether that's like wrestling KFAB bullshit and he's just doing that to get a rise, that made me laugh. And I was like, okay, I'll vote for that guy because that's hilarious.
Well, that's one of the arguments is that he will continuously pull votes away from the Conservative Party. And you need about like 34% to win in this country. So if the Conservatives are already at 31, 32%, and he continues to pull more away from them, then I don't see anybody who's going to go from liberal to NDP. Maybe they should just go both extremes and we either become communist or like very right wing. I don't know what the answer is anymore, but I think you'll see more people trying to leave. But having said that, a lot of people are complaining about passport wait times being longer and longer. So maybe the goal is that nobody's allowed to leave no matter how bad it gets. I think that's what communist countries do, if I'm not mistaken, is the old you can't leave move.
Yeah. What if Big Trudy comes out, right? And he goes full North Korea on us.
Well,
wouldn't that be fun?
It would be interesting to watch. See, you need a certain level of compliance. And I think if we would go more China, and this is a theory I have, if China is actually just a gigantic country full of social justice warriors, and then stay with me here. If you take what like a far leftist is now, like a person who's offended by everything, they want the government to take care of them. The natural extension, I think, to that is eventually you get to a point where they elect people who think exactly like that. And they are okay with all these things happening. That's what I feel like probably happened in China with the Maoism. They had the book. They said you can't question the leader. The teachers are racist. The farmers are racist. Give us their land and we'll do it. I see a version of North America or England and Australia where it's not so much a hardcore communist, but it's a social justice warriors mentality who's taken over, where it's like, well, we put anybody who doesn't agree with, the rainbow stuff, you're going to work here to build a government house so that everybody has fair um and equal housing, and we'll raise the minimum wage to $30 so that no one could possibly be underpaid, and everything will be fair and equal. And I think a lot of it was in the original Green New Deal. I don't know if you read that, the AOC one, backed by Bernie Sanders. That's what they were basically purporting to do. They said that they were going to replace all oil jobs with government jobs to build houses and retrofit everything with new electrical grids. They said that you would no more gas cars, and that everybody would be able to buy an affordable electric government car. And no matter what, they would also give all the people working in oil related jobs 5 years of salary, because they would eliminate their jobs, and then everybody would live happily ever after. Everybody would there'd be free healthcare there, of course, which isn't cheap. And this is basically what their plan was. So if those people got into power, I could see, one of these situations where, everybody's so happy, but actually everybody's pretty much enslaved. So is that North Korea? Maybe. And scene.
Well, insane. Yeah, you painted a lovely picture there. So what you're telling me is I'm going to have a duplex and a Tesla and be happy?
That's right, but it'll be the worst Tesla, and you'll share that duplex with 3 generations of your family. And just like North Korea, they will come and collect your fertilizer and use it. Have you heard that stuff about North Korea?
Very minimal.
They actually, according to the woman who escaped, who made the rounds on all the podcasts, Yeonmi Park, she said the government would come and collect your waste, your feces, to then farm with, because they had no fertilizer to go around. So literally everything down to your feces is not yours. It's the state's there. And just a wonderful time. But wouldn't it be funny if she was completely lying? It was actually this great place.
The greatest thing of all time.
Yeah, I don't know how that place operates still without any intervention. I know that they survive on Chinese coal, and Russians buy slave labor off of them. That's basically their economy, as I understand it.
Genius economics, if you ask me.
If only we could run our own country. What's your take on Ukraine? I just saw last week I guess I'll call it an infomercial from the Ukrainian vice president, or whatever he's calling himself, where they envisioned a Ukraine where it's a cashless society, crimes are judged by AI, all this wonderful stuff. They said that every group of buildings would have its own missile defense system, a perfect society somehow. Are you impartial to the Ukraine story? Do you think it's all corrupt? Russia bad? What's your side on this? Do you have a take?
I think it's very lovely that President Zelensky can find time to do a photo shoot with Vogue magazine to still keep the American entertainment industry, very, very pleased with his efforts. It's wonderful, and it's brilliant that I think it was Jimmy Fallon or whatever, one of those fucking cuck late night television hosts, was able to bring one of the Azov Battalion folks to Disneyland. That's very great.
Really?
That's what we need more of happening.
Did that actually happen? He brought some soldiers over?
There's a Ukrainian soldier that was wearing like an Azov Battalion
Please
shirt.
find that, Olivia. I have to see this, because every time, I think it was 2 weeks ago on Zelensky's official Instagram, he posted another soldier with some message, and he had a Luftwaffe logo on, which is the Nazi Air Force, I believe, and they had to delete it because this somehow keeps happening, that we keep promoting guys with these symbols. Let's go with Azov. Was it Disney World or Disneyland, I'm guessing?
Yeah, whatever one of those late night TV hosts brought, and they covered up his he has tattoos on his elbow. I couldn't quite see what it was, but you can go with whatever you feel on that one. They covered those up, and they brought him over for a nice day trip at Disney World or Disneyland. It's quite hilarious.
It was Jon Stewart, I'm being told.
There it is. Yeah, John
Let's
Stewart.
throw that up, Olivia. John Stewart honors Azov Battalion. Pentagon funded. That's lovely, isn't it? Enlarge that a little bit, please. Comedian John Stewart honored a member of the Notorious and 14 hours ago. Is that what that says? And what website is this on? Okay, yeah, let's double check and get a second source after this. Yeah. I've never heard of World Socialist, because that was obviously, yeah. Okay, sure. Let's just go with something, and then we'll parse through it and see. Oh, we're both talented media members who can parse through lies. Yeah. So honor Ukrainian Nazi at Disney World. Defense Department sponsored Warrior Games featured liberal comedian Jon Stewart awarding a member of Ukraine's Azov Battalion at Disney World. The Pentagon refused to tell the gray zone whether U.S. taxpayers funded the foreign competitors' travel. During the Department of Defense annual Warrior Games at Disney World in Orlando, Florida, this August, liberal comedian Jon Stewart awarded a Ukrainian military member Heart of the Team. Can you zoom in on that a little bit? So he was an injured guy. Yeah, okay, so he had the sun in red and the black sun. Scroll down. Okay, well, then the article doesn't really matter. He has the black sun on his elbow. Isn't that lovely?
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, it's nice for a Jewish comedian Jon Stewart to maybe, I'm assuming he just doesn't know. He was just trying to be a nice guy. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt, given that he tries to work with the 9/11 victims all the time. But the Pentagon-funded Azov Battalion trip to Disney World is just, that could be a sketch, I think.
Oh, Walt Disney right now is smiling down upon thee, thinking this is just exactly what I built this nice facility for, is to have Nazis come through.
You guys know we had to stop it somewhere, didn't you? It was inevitably coming. You have to go to rebelnewsplus.com if you want to see the rest of this hilarious interview with Brendan from Danger Cats. Check out their website. Check out their YouTube channel. We're going to be talking about Biden, Ukraine, Jesse Ventura. It gets much funnier, even funnier. So you want to go to rebelnewsplus.com. Just $8 a month, less than any other streaming service. You'll get this show, you'll get Ezra Levant, and you'll get the documentaries that we were talking about, like the Coots and Trucker documentaries. We'll see you guys next week.